What does gutsy mean to you, my friend?
Oh, gutsy. Gutsy means courage, doing the thing that you're afraid to do, doing it because you know what? If you don't do it, you're going to have that regret later in life. Doing it when you're afraid, doing the thing that's right, like stepping up, standing up for other people that can't defend themselves. I think gutsy is such an amazing word. I love that. I love that name too for your podcast.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm Laura Ora, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire, that drives you. But gutsy, that's what gets it done. What parts of yourself are you still hiding? The story, the mistakes, the version of you that you hope nobody ever finds out about. Shame has a way of convincing us that if people really knew us, they'd judge us, reject, or use it against us. And so you stay quiet, you hide, and you carry things that were never meant to be carried alone. In this episode, I'm joined by Candi Rose, and wow, her story is one of survival, rebuilding, resilience, and ultimately finding freedom after years of toxic shame, abuse, addiction, self-destruction, and feeling trapped by her past. We talk about what happens when you finally stop running, how shame grows in silence, and why healing often starts with radical honesty. It's uncomfortable, but it's powerful work that faces the parts of yourself that you've spent years avoiding. We also talk about inner child work, a topic that is just really near and dear to my heart, because becoming the person that you needed when you were younger, that changes everything. So if you have felt weighed down by your past, stuck in old stories, and afraid that your mistakes are going to define who you are for the rest of your life, this is a beautiful, safe place to start to unpack that. Candi is a TEDx speaker, author, storytelling coach, real estate investor, and full-time single mom. After building a successful career flipping and developing hundreds of homes, she realized that she was still hiding behind her success, carrying the shame from her past. Everything changed when she shared her story through her book, Naked, Unlocking Her Voice, Confidence, and Purpose. Today, alongside growing her real estate ventures, Candi helps women break their silence, heal from shame, and reclaim their identity so they can step fully into the life they're meant to live. Candi is truly a beautiful example of what happens when you turn shame into strength. Let's get into it. Hello, Candi. Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I was reading your story. I watched your TEDx talk, and I'm like, oh, we have to have a conversation because we all have a story. And so many of us live just completely chained down by experiences and shame and guilt and stories that we try to hide. And you have chosen to just say, you know what, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going
Yeah,
to talk about this stuff and find freedom in that. I appreciate that. That in its own is gutsy. And that's why we have to have this conversation today.
absolutely. Definitely gutsy. Writing my book, very, very gutsy. But it was all part of overcoming the toxic shame, the severe shame, the very traumatic shame that I had dealt with for decades of my life. And I felt like if I could just put it out there, it would kind of be like the last straw that I could just be me, and that I wouldn't have to worry about pretending to be somebody else. I had kind of lived in that walking on eggshells, afraid of people finding out who I really was for so long. And we can get into that, but it was just a way to find the freedom that I was searching for. I didn't want anybody to use anything against me. I didn't want to be blackmailed. I didn't want to be, made to feel bad about myself anymore. And so, yes, I put it all out there in a very gutsy move of being vulnerable. And it really helped me to find my freedom. And that's what I
Mm.
was searching for.
That's what we're here to find, right?
Yes.
You shared a quote with me: when you stop hiding, you start living. And I
Yes.
was like, ooh, there, that's where we're gonna start. So give me the snapshot. What was it like hiding? What Tell me a little bit about your story so our listeners can get to know you more. And what was the moment where you really started living?
Yeah, I had a good childhood growing up. I always tell everybody I went to church, did all that, in sports, good family. And it started in high school when I became the victim of extreme bullying. That lasted for 2 years. And then, it was kind of the hurt teenager, started quitting everything and running away and started numbing and drinking and drugs and boys and skipping school. That led to multiple arrests by the feds, almost went to prison. It's you start seeing this kid running from her pain, and I didn't notice it back then because I was a child. But I didn't have an outlet, and it just kind of snowballed and it kept going and going. And then I ended up getting in an abusive relationship and he almost killed me. And then I started stripping. And I mean, it was just like I was stuck in this life and I didn't know how I ended up there. It happened so fast. And at my lowest point, I considered taking my life. And I'm looking at my life, I'm leaving my abuser, my home's in foreclosure. All I had been was a stripper for 6 years. I was a conditional felon. I mean, college dropout. I mean, you name it, like nothing. Like, there's no way my life is ever going to get better. And that was that feeling, that shame that almost took my life because I couldn't see a way out. And I did consider taking my life. And then, I didn't, but I had this you know, come to Jesus awakening, right? Like literally. And I was born again after that. And I decided I just couldn't do that. I couldn't go down that road any longer. And I didn't want to listen to the voices in my head telling me that it was never going to get better. And I just chose to fight. I just chose to fight, to get up and fight. And that was a really big turning point in my life because I remember just thinking like, okay, there's another option. Like the voices in my head were telling me there wasn't another option, but it was like, oh, there is another option. And I chose that option. And my life didn't get better from there. I mean, it did. It got really good for a while. It got good, like great for a while, actually. I started my real estate career and all that stuff. But I had a lot of ups and downs. It was like I went, I went back up, but then I got pregnant, became a single mom, lost it all again, was almost nearly homeless again after that. And so it was just constant, right? And then I picked myself back up and then I built my real estate investing career again for the second time. And then it was like at the height of my career. I just closed on the biggest project of my entire career, flipped hundreds of homes, was on, a pilot for HGTV, and I just found myself miserable. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Why am I so miserable? And I decided at that time to walk away from building and flipping houses, to walk away from it all, to go find myself. And that's when I had to sit with myself and I had to address my past. I knew I couldn't keep running. I knew something had to change, and that's when it happened. It was like, I have to sit with who I am. I have to face my past. I have to face the pain. And that's when I began writing. And that's when the book came out. And after that, I started speaking. And then eventually I did the TEDx. And I promise you, not in a million years would I have ever thought I'd be a writer or a public speaker. But God decided that was going to be my route. And so here I am now.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, just the the moment after moment after moment, it's, I think a lot of women that are listening can relate to that, where it's like, when am I going to catch a break?
Yeah.
When is this going to stick? When am I going to move beyond this thing? Right. And this cycle just kind of kept continuing.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing through your story, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in any way possible, but it feels like there was this like continuous need to fill a void or to distract from the past, or like to find fulfillment in other things, but it never really felt great because that inner peace was still with you. That
Yeah.
story was not yet faced.
Yeah, I think we all do that at times. We try to get something that's going to make us feel better. And You might not have done, drugs or drinking or things like that. But relationships, I mean, some people just fill the void with one relationship after another, and I'm not knocking anybody. I mean, I was promiscuous, right? Like, I'm just saying it never filled me. It never gave me peace. It was temporary satisfaction. And then it would just make me spiral. I call it a shame spiral because then after I had done the thing that I was trying to do to feel better, the drink and the drugs, the, promiscuity, all that stuff, then I'm spiraling because I'm like, what have I just done? Now I feel worse. Now I'm a horrible person. I'm not a good person. Nobody's gonna want to be with a girl like me. I can't even get my shit together. Like, what am I doing? And it just continued. And I think so many people live that way with whatever they're doing. Like some people are gambling, some people are eating, some people are in relationships, some people are drinking. We're all doing these things, trying to fill that void, but you don't fill it by running from it. You have to feel it to heal it. You have to face it. And the sooner that you face it, the better off you are going to be because you can't run forever. And that's what happened. I literally just had a mental breakdown. And that's when I decided to walk away from my career. I was burnt out. I mean, I was at the top of my game, making money, doing all this stuff. It just built my daughter and I as a single mom, a brand new home. I'm a female dominating a male dominated industry, and I was miserable. And success doesn't fill that void. It helps. It helps to get you out of rock bottom. And as a single mom, I get that. As a survivor, I get that. Sometimes you're just in survival mode, and that's okay. But there's going to come a time when you're going to have to switch from surviving to thriving. You're going to have to make that, you're going to have to go back to what hurt you in order to find that peace and that purpose. Because when you're running, you can't find your purpose.
Mm. And this is the piece that we dance around for a long time because why? It's uncomfortable.
Yes.
You don't want to go back to those places. You don't want to feel those things. When you say face it and feel it, can you tell us a little bit about what that looked like for you? Of course, it's unique to everyone's journey, but I think it would be helpful to hear how you faced it and ultimately then felt it.
I mean, I think there was a lot of times where I tried to face it and then I would relapse, you know? It's like it's like, when people are, going to AA or whatever, you're being good, you're being good, you're being good, you know? And then you relapse because you just it's a journey. It's hard. It's hard to face the thing that you don't want to face. And so it's okay that you try and you try and maybe I hate using the word fail because I don't like that word, but like you try and then you mess up. I think that's okay. At least you're trying. I literally would go to work at the strip club, do lines of cocaine, and get up and go to church in the morning when I was trying to get out of that lifestyle. I did it for a long time. I mean, eventually I left that lifestyle and then I just kept the church part. But you got to do what you got to do while you're trying to get to that next place in your life. Everybody thinks you have to be this perfect person and say, "Oh, you're such a hypocrite." You go and you listen to that Cardi B. You can't be a Christian if you listen to that kind of music. I'm like, I'm from Atlanta. I listen to that kind of music. Okay. I'm still a Christian. I love Jesus. So I have some music that I listen to that, and I get it. I get it. You're not supposed to, but I mean, we're not perfect people. Whether no matter what your faith is, or if you don't have a faith, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying we're not perfect people no matter what. And so society says like if you're just not living this way, that you're not real or something. But you have to continue to face what it is and do the things that you want to do. And if you have setbacks, there you go, that's the word. If you have setbacks, that's okay. Don't go into a huge spiral like I used to, because I did. I would go into spirals and be like, I'm a horrible person, I'm a bad person, I'm never going to change, nobody's going to want me, I might as well just go and do all the things just hardcore again. I'm never, it's like it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to like continue to try and then have setbacks. Just don't quit trying.
Don't quit trying. That's the name of the game. You
Yeah.
know, because those thoughts, when you have those setbacks, those thoughts, they just it's like gasoline on the shame fire,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And then you feel worse about yourself. And then what do you want to do? Well, I've already messed up. I might as well keep going, you know, and it so there are cycles within the cycles.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, what did facing yourself look like? Like what's a moment or what's a story or how did you face yourself?
Um, well, a big one was when I started writing my book. I had to go back and relive all the parts of me that I suppressed.
Hmm.
And that was really big. And that's one thing that I always tell people, is, you know, pull out that pen and papers. If you really want to start facing who you are, start writing down the things that you never talk about. Because when you write it, you have to sit with it. Or when you type it, I'm a fast typer, I type. But when you go back to the thing that you've forgotten about, you oftentimes see it in a different light now, which is really cool. You know, when I was, and don't get me wrong, I cried. I cried when I was talking about being bullied. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was over this. Like, I mean, I bawled when I was talking about the abuse. I cried so much. And I think we think that we're over it. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I think most people think that they're over it because guess what? I don't walk around just crying when I'm not thinking about those things. I'm pretty good. But when I go back and I have to, address it and face it, you cry because you're like, wow, I didn't know that I still had that in there, that it was still that painful. But then the cool thing that happened for me is that I started seeing myself in a different light. I was like, oh, now I feel bad that I left her so long ago. And that I started doing some inner child work too because of
Yeah.
that, because a lot of the stuff happens from our childhood and we take that into our adult lives and then it just causes a whole bunch of problems. And I just had to like sit with my inner child and just cry and say, I'm so sorry I left you. I'm so sorry, that I wasn't there for you. And now I'm like having this inner dialogue with myself. And it was just really powerful. And everybody has the ability to do that.
Inner child work is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking and also liberating all in the same breath. I mean, it's deep, beautiful work. And if you're willing to endure that discomfort that inevitably you're going to feel
Yeah.
through that, and on the other side of that, you become your best advocate.
Yes.
You become the person that you always needed when you were little. You become your best friend. Like, gosh, I've done a lot of inner child work as well, and gosh, it's gorgeous work. You want to free yourself, do inner child work.
Yeah. It is. It is. It's just so hard to get people to want to face it.
Yeah.
But I want my message is that you've got to face it. If you ever want to have the life that you say you want, and you want to have peace and you want to know your purpose and you want to have clarity, you have to face the thing that you ran from, you know?
Yeah. And part of that is the radical honesty that you speak on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Radical honesty with yourself. Sometimes that radical honesty is then sharing it. Not always. You know, not everyone is intended on sharing their story with everybody, but some people are.
Yeah.
But you have to have that radical honesty with yourself. And then in your case, you were like, I got to talk about it. I got to share this with other people.
Yeah. You know, I didn't go into it thinking I needed to share my story with other people. See, that's what I want people to understand because I'm a big advocate for sharing your story. But in my community, you don't have to share your story with anybody else. You just have to share it with somebody. And you can do that in many different ways. You could do it anonymously, you can do it publicly, you can do it just by sharing it with yourself, but like you have to look at it, right? And so, and I also tell people it's like people say, "Oh, I don't want to write a book. I don't want to speak." I flunked out of speech class twice in college before I quit college completely. I get it. I hated public speaking, but you never know where your path in life is going to take you. And once you start facing things and you start finding your freedom, you oftentimes find your purpose, and your pain becomes your purpose. I'm sure you've heard that one, right? And you're able to take the thing that hurt you the most, and you're actually able to go out there, and you realize that when you start to talk about it in a safe, non-judgmental environment with others who've gone through something similar, you're able to break your isolation. You're able to form that connection, that community that you haven't had in forever. And that changes you. So, I get it. If you say, I don't want to be a public speaker, I don't want to write a book, that's fine. I'm just saying, you got to start, you got to share it somewhere. Because if you don't, it stays inside. And shame holds its power over you in the darkness.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yes, it does. Man, it loves that space.
It loves it.
It feeds on it. When you start sharing, first it's with yourself, and then maybe it's with a trusted person, or with a therapist, or with somebody that you're working with, or whoever, wherever you end up sharing, right?
Mhm.
What effect does that have on shame? How does that start to shift what shame does to you?
Well, in my experience, when I started to share my story, I realized that I wasn't alone. And it was so empowering. And not only was I freeing myself, but I was freeing others because they were hearing my story and they were realizing they weren't alone. And this started like I started on a podcast. I was like no face, you know what I mean? I started where I wanted to start, right? And it was like, and then it kind of again continued to grow. And I've had some therapists in my life that I've loved. And then I've had many that I did not like, especially when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, I would go, my parents would make me go, because I started having problems, when I was in high school. And, I didn't like the fact that the therapist would just sit there and just tell me about yourself. How does that make you feel? I'm like, fuck you. Who are you? Like, why should I tell you my story? Like, you haven't told me anything. And I'm a big believer that people share when they feel that they can trust you and that they're safe and that they're not going to be judged. And so that's why I do what I do. But I have had other therapists and counselors that have done a great job with that kind of stuff. And I felt really safe talking to them. So, you just have to find the right community, the right person. Some people need the license, like some people need some serious help, and I get that. I kind of want to be like the gateway, right? I like to be the gateway. In church you have, the Joel Osteen and the feel-good pastors. And then if you want something deeper, you go to like the Southern Baptist pastor. I like to be the gateway. It's like, come in, let me help you, feel safe enough to begin opening up. And then if you need something stronger, let me refer you to somebody who can help you with that. Because sometimes that's the hardest part is the opening up. I mean, it's
Yeah.
always the hardest part is actually, looking at your past and opening up about it and addressing it.
I'm tired of negotiating with my desires. Oh, come on. I mean, if that doesn't hit you in the soul. Listen, this is one of the common denominators with the women that join Auraline. This is a 6-month mastermind for women in business that have had some success. You've gotten so far, but you've downplayed it. You've not fully gone all in on yourself, or you're diluting or editing the way that you're showing up. You're repeating the success that's gotten you to where you were before, but you know that that's not going to get you to where you actually want to be. In this round, we're building your business your way. Offers that you are legitimately excited to deliver. Systems and tools that help you to stay grounded and proactive. Simplifying all that noise and the things that are happening in the 40 different directions you feel pulled in. And shifting or removing the things that have been stopping you. In Oraline, we don't negotiate with the desires. We make the gutsy moves to get it done. If you're at a pivot point in your business, you can feel that there's something bigger calling you, or you're just done downplaying it and you're ready to go all in, Oraline is the space where we're going to get this done together. You can learn more at lauraora.com/mastermind, or if you're a little bit curious and you want to chat a little bit more about it, you can book a free clarity session in the show notes below. Absolutely. I mean, the fear of, you mentioned it in the beginning, the fear of judgment, and
Yeah.
are people going to hold it against you, and are they going to form opinions about you? How do you begin to release the fear around what other people may or may not think or do with your information?
Yeah, and that's why I'm always like in a safe, non-judgmental environment. I say that all the time. Share in a safe, non-judgmental environment because if you go out there and you just start sharing with your friends and family, it's probably not going to go the way you want it to go. And I know because I did that. And I had my mom, out of all people, made me feel really bad about
Mm,
myself, but she didn't mean to. And that's what I mean. It's like she wasn't even meaning to make me feel bad, and she made me feel bad because of her response. And and I call it the shame dance because I was so excited to go out there and start sharing my story. And I did this years ago. And I had all these people from social media that had reached out like through DM and all this stuff. I would have thousands of comments on podcasts. And then my mom called me one day and she was like, "Oh, my friend heard your video. I didn't know you were going to put all that out there.
mm,
Why did you do that? Did you need to do all of that?" And she didn't mean to. I don't, like she's my biggest cheerleader and she's a good mom. It's just that it caught her off guard but it wasn't her story to tell me how to feel or what to do. And because of her response, I deleted everything. I went silent for a couple of years before I came back. And then I realized, oh, I need to be doing this in a safe, non-judgmental space until I can work up my hard outer shell to take the arrows, which I take them now because people are mean. And I'm okay with it now. I'm like, it's okay. You can call me names and say everything you want to say about me if you don't like me and that. But I had to work, I had to work up to that because it comes. Let's be honest. I mean, people are mean. Social media is very easy for people to troll. So be careful where you're sharing your stuff.
right. This, I see it as this snowball, right? That where you're building up, it's filling in, it's getting stronger, and sometimes, like in your case, you chose to go public with it and share it and use the pain as power to then turn around and help others, which is phenomenal, right? So much power in that, so much healing happens in that space. But I love that you pointed out, you went out, nope, bring it back, right? And I think that that's an
Mhm.
important part of facing it is you don't have to blast it everywhere. I think sometimes that's what we think is like, oh, I'm terrified of what everyone's going to say or think about me, but I don't need to go there. And maybe you never need to go there. But sharing it in that safe, non-judgmental place, I don't know, it allows you to just start peeling back the layers, and it allows you to process it, and it's in this breaking of the silence, this radical honesty, where you take the power away from the shame,
Mhm.
where that is no longer holding you hostage. It's no longer keeping you stuck in one place, but now you're back in the driver's seat.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're gonna have to distance yourself from certain people in your
Yeah.
growth. And you're not going to want to lose certain people. I get that. That's why you stay silent. For so many years, I didn't want to tell my story because I was afraid. I already felt like a bad girl. And that's why I dated bad boys. I didn't feel that I deserved a good guy because I was such a bad person.
Right.
And I had to really work over that because I was like, I'm not a bad person. I made bad choices, but that doesn't make me a bad person. Therefore, I do deserve a good man. But I stayed silent even after learning that because I was like, oh my gosh, if I put all my stuff out there, what good man is going to want to be with me? After I'm telling all this stuff, and I started leaning into recently talking more about promiscuity, which is a horrible topic to talk about on social media,
Oh,
especially.
I'm certain of it.
Oh my gosh. But I mean, you have to understand that the people that are going to judge you are not your people. And if they are in your family, I'm not saying get rid of your family. I'm saying you might have to set boundaries. And if they're not your family, then I am saying that you're going to have to distance yourself. And it's not going to be comfortable. But why do you want to be with somebody who doesn't love you unconditionally for who you are? And I'm not saying you can't still just be out there and be like, oh, well, that's just what I do. I go, I get high, I get every weekend, and you just have to deal with it. I'm saying, like, if it's something that you did in your past and you have changed now, you shouldn't feel bad about that because that is your past. There's nothing you can do about your past. My abusive ex used to hold it over me, and that's how he held his power over me. And I'm pretty sure he is the one that gave me such severe shame because he would call me a dirty, used up stripper, and nobody's ever going to want a girl like you, and all that stuff. So you have to understand that if people use that against you, they're not good people. If you're ever dating a guy and you tell him something about your past and he begins to use that against you, go. Because good people don't do that.
Right.
So you have to understand that your circle's gonna change as you grow.
Yeah.
It will be uncomfortable, but it'll be
And
okay.
and the circle's going to change anytime. You know, like we are always growing and we're always evolving.
hmm
And so we want to be around people that see and support you for who you are and where you've been. You know, your ride or die people that okay, tell me more. How can I help you? How can I support you? I'm,
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, how do you begin to reframe some of those beliefs about yourself? Because I'm sure that you formed your own beliefs about yourself, but I could see, and I'm certain that those phrases from your abusive ex probably became your belief system as well.
Yeah, for a long time. Well, for a long, oh yes. God.
So how do you start to overcome or rewire those beliefs to something
Yeah.
that matches who you truly are?
I know it's going to sound so cliche, but you know, self-affirmations and reading positive books. And obviously, for me, I had to lean hard into my faith. I had tried everything I could try on my own. And that's when I was like, okay, I need a bigger power. I can't do this on myself. And so I leaned hard into my faith. And my self-affirmations at first were sounded really funny. If you're not a person who talks positively to yourself, I am I am now I'm like, I am made in the image of God. I am perfect. I am made in the image of God, right? And but I'll say stuff like, like the other day I was at the gym, I was like, man, I'm so fat. And I was like, no. I was like, I am strong. I put on some weight recently. I'm going to use this to my advantage. I mean, I literally find myself now kind of talking to myself when I start to say something bad. But in the beginning, it was a lot of self-affirmations. I am like I am valued. I am beautiful. I am reborn. Instead of being like I'm such a, I, talking about promiscuity, that was really hard, thinking about that kind of stuff. And that's easy to get yourself down. And I know there's a lot of women that feel this way. I mean, gosh. But I had to, go back and just be like, that was me. I did what I did. I'm not proud of it, but I'm proud of the woman that I am today. And I'm not doing that anymore. That's all I can do. That's all I can say, you know? And I think that's just anything that you're having problems with, you really gotta talk loving to yourself And you got to really, you might not believe it in the beginning, but you will believe it one day if you say it enough. Because you've said enough negative stuff to yourself. You already believe that. So try the positive stuff. It will happen, it will
Yeah,
come.
your brain believes what you tell it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think our thoughts and our brain are like two different things, but it's a self-feeding system. So
Yeah.
if you're constantly putting yourself down and constantly telling yourself these horrible things, guess what? Your brain is going to believe that and your actions are going to follow it.
Yeah. And when somebody else has told you how stupid you are, and you're nothing but a stupid bitch and you're a dirty, used up stripper for years and years and years, you believe that. You
Yeah.
believe it as a child when your parents are telling you whatever they're telling you that aren't supportive parents. You believe it. It's hard. It's hard. People put shame on you. You're not born with shame. I mean, you learn that. Somebody puts it on you somewhere. And then you put it on yourself. Somebody puts it on you and then you feel so bad about yourself, then you start making all the other decisions that a person with low self-esteem and shame and low self-confidence and low self-worth would make. And then you start putting it on yourself and now it's just again, you're just out of control. So you believe what other people say. You start talking negative to yourself, but the only way to come up out of that is to get rid of the people who are talking negatively to you and also to begin saying nice things to yourself and
Yeah.
loving yourself. Like say things that you would say to a child. You would not go and tell a child like you're worthless, you're so stupid, like stop, you know what I mean? You wouldn't be like that to a child. So that's you got to be like, loving to yourself like you would be loving to a child.
Yeah. Well, you say you got to get rid of those people. Part of the people is also a portion of that person that lives in your brain.
Well,
You
yeah,
know, we have to
yeah,
there's a version of ourselves that believe it that we also have to release.
yeah,
And you said this really brilliantly. If you're not going to believe it at first, you're probably
mhm,
going to feel ridiculous. You're probably going to be like, this is
yeah,
whack in its own. You know what I mean? But it obviously the other way is not working. So what if I just let this be silly for a little while? What if I try something new to see if maybe we can get a different outcome? And then
yeah,
before you know it, you catch it like you did in the gym the other day. Like I taught Candy, I talked to myself more than I think regular human beings talk to themselves. And I'm just always in dialogue and catching those moments because once you
mhm,
start to feel even a little bit better, when one of those mantras or affirmations starts to actually become a little bit true, you're
yeah,
like, oh, hold on a second. I maybe there's something to this. Maybe I actually have the ability to change it this time.
yeah. And you got to be strong. There's going to be people that come into your life and tell you that you can't do things, and everybody loves to tell you that you can't do whatever it is that you have this big dream about. When I was um, nearly homeless for the second time as a single mom with my 1-year-old baby, I was back at home with my parents. I didn't have a car. I didn't have any money. My career was just dead at that point because I was with my ex for 4 years. We had gotten engaged and I ended up calling off the wedding and he took everything. And so I was at my parents' house. I had nothing. And I just remember thinking, I want to start my real estate investing career again. And both of my dads, my dad and my stepdad, would just tell me all the reasons why I didn't need to be doing it. You're not going to do it. It's going to be too hard. You should just go get a job, a real job with benefits. I was like, well, I think it is a real job. But they were corporate America, right? And they just told me like every day, like every week for almost 9 months before I actually made my first sale. And I really had to fight that. And I had to tell myself. And I had these things written on the wall. My mom was talking about the other day of like the money I was gonna make, and like I would just have them posted, all around. I used to have like girls that looked good in the figure fitness world on my refrigerator, and so I just remember I had to fight my dad's. And I'd just be like, no, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to build my career back. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And again, it was just telling myself I can do it. While two people who love me very much weren't trying to tear me down, it's just that they didn't believe that I could do it. and I did it.
Mm.
But you have to fight against the people who even love you sometimes. It's not that it's not that they want something bad for you, it's just that they can't see what it is that you're trying to be or where you're trying to go or who you're trying to be, right? So, yeah, you just have to really, really, really it's a lot of mind control, like mindset, and that's just yeah.
Lot of filtration because let's be honest, probably a lot of their thoughts and feelings about what you were going to do or not going to do was projection of their own limitations. They can't see
Yeah.
themselves doing it. They didn't know how to do it. Like they didn't think that it was a viable option, not because probably not because they didn't think that you could do it, but because they didn't think that they could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. The same thing happened the other day. I was talking to my dad about this new project that I'm working on, and I was telling him about it, and he was again telling me the reasons why whatever it was wasn't going to work. And then I ended up sending him a photo showing him what I was talking about. And immediately when he saw the photo, he was like, "Oh, that's what you're talking about?" And it's just reminded me that people just can't see. They can't see what's in here. So why
No,
don't we let them control us? You know? It's just interesting. People just can't see what's in your mind. And that's why you have to make your mind and keep it set, right?
right.
Got to go for
Absolutely.
it. Don't let anybody get in your way until you get
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Until you get it. So what does life look like now? What's this stage and phase look and feel like for you?
So now I am working on growing my speaking career after doing the TEDx, and that's really exciting. And writing more books. I'm in my second book, which is a really hard book to write because it's all about the abuse. Um, and I have a community where I'm helping people find freedom from their past as well. And I'm a real estate investor, so I'm working on. I wish I had a picture for you, but I'm working on a glamp ground for
Ooh,
retreats. So that will be really, really fun one day because once I actually get it up, I'm going to be renting it out to other retreat leaders, but I'm going to be able to have my own retreats there as well. And it's those dome tents. Do you know what I'm talking
yes,
about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So it's going to be so great. It's going to be so great. And those are all the many things that I'm working on. And then I'm also full-time single mom. So I
And
stay busy.
how old is your kiddo?
She's 15, almost 16.
Okay, we're in that stage of life now.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Amazing.
stay busy.
Well, the reason I asked that is, gosh, it just shows a testament of the culmination of the celebrations of all the things that are working in your favor because you kept showing up, because you did the hard work, you faced yourself, you felt the feelings, you got support, right? You kept leaning in. And especially when the world kept telling you that you couldn't, you were
Yeah.
like, hold my can of Coke. Let me show you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
let me show you. But maybe even more importantly, let me show myself. So just
Yeah.
huge kudos. I appreciate and respect your vulnerability and you sharing your story and turning that pain into power and now supporting people. So,
Thank you.
where can we find you? Yeah, absolutely. Where can we find you? Where can listeners find your book, learn a little bit more about your community? Give us the goods.
So I'm going to send you all the links so that you can upload everything. The TEDx is on YouTube. Candi Rose, Candy with an I, Rose like the flower. But I'm going to also send you links for the free community that I have. It's Your Journey to Freedom. It's just a way for people to come in and kind of, test it out, test the waters out, see what's happening in there, and just to see that you're not alone. You're not alone in your journey. And I just want to say, like the reason that I do all this is I just want people to know they can do the same thing. That's really the reason that I'm doing this. I just want them to know they can do the same thing. And it doesn't matter what your age is. Don't think that you should have started a long time ago. We're all on this, our journeys at separate times, and we're all getting older together. And it doesn't matter when you start because I mean, literally, like I was telling you earlier, we're all on this healing journey, but anybody can find freedom that moment that they decide, I'm ready. And that's like my biggest mission is just to show people they can find that freedom that I found.
Amazing. What does gutsy mean to you, my friend?
Oh. Gutsy. Gutsy means courage, doing the thing that you're afraid to do, doing it because you know what? If you don't do it, you're going to have that regret later in life, doing it when you're afraid, doing the thing that's right, like stepping up, standing up for other people that can't defend themselves. I think gutsy is such an amazing word. I love that. I love that name too for your podcast.
I mean, seriously, what a powerful story and such beautiful permission that you don't need, but maybe just need to hear. That when you face it and you feel it, you relieve it. You move past it. It doesn't have to define you for the rest of your life. In fact, it never defined you, whatever it is. If you've listened through this entire episode, you're ready to break this cycle. Candi talked about she kept running to protect herself, running to hide. But it's that radical honesty that begins dismantling the shame and giving you your life back. Be sure to check out Candi's TEDx talk and order a copy of her book. I've linked both of those things in the show notes below. And just remember, whatever's happened in your life, whatever story you're carrying around with you, whatever identity keeps following you around, I want you to always know that you are loved and accepted here. We are all human. We all have human experiences. And it's what we end up doing with that experience that makes all the difference. If we're not already friends, what are we doing? Come find me. I'm on social media. My handle is @thatlauraora. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.